Debra Tate joins us at the top of the hour.
So one of the Manson family members has been paroled. We've heard this a couple times with Leslie Van Houten. Hers didn't go down that road. Eventually, the governor overturned it, and we are waiting to see. And because there are so many players within this Manson family, you don't realize.
And by players, you're not talking about people who get lots of tail.
No, I'm talking about murderers, people who butcher pregnant women.
Just want to clarify.
And people they don't know and ruin families. So it's not just the Leslie Van Houtens or the Susan Adkins or the Patricia Krenwinkles or the Tex Watsons. It's the Bobby Beausoleil. So Bobby Beausoleil was convicted in the killing of a music teacher in Topanga Canyon, Gary Hinman. And I know Gary's family, and Deborah's very close to them. And I was reading the transcripts last night, and some of it is, they moved me in prison, and now I'm not near my family, and that's cruel and unusual punishment. I'm like, you ruined what? You ruined Gary Hinman's family. Where his mother never gets to hug him again. His aunt. What are you talking about? I can't. Do they forget what they do to people? In
this particular case, it's permitted to both hate the player and the game.
Yes. Thank you, John. So Deborah will be up to talk about what he's been doing since being in prison. And he's an artist, and some of his art I find extremely disturbing. It involves children.
We'll be describing that at the top of the hour. And speaking of criminal justice reform in California, it looks like yet another member of the Manson family could be getting out of prison. This time it's Bobby Beausoleil, who has shown disturbing behavior.
Well, and we should find out
prison.
Exactly who he is, because within the hierarchy of the Manson family, there are the big names that you always hear about, but there are a whole bunch of them that resided at Spawn Ranch and Barker Ranch that were murderers, and they get far little coverage, but they come up silently for parole. And this just so happens to be the time that he was granted it. So let's join Debra Tate right now. And Debra can tell us, who's a victim's rights advocate, the sister of Sharon Tate, beautiful book Recollections, always at these parole hearings, constantly. It has taken over Debra's life for most of her life. So she's always dealing with one of these creeps because they come up constantly. Deb, welcome. Tell us who Bobby Beausoleil is for the person out there who only knows Manson and Susan Adkins and Tex Watson from your sister's horrible evening.
Basically, Bobby Beausoleil was the first to come out and commit murder. He killed his very good friend, Gary Hinman, who was his guitar teacher, a music teacher at UCLA, a very accomplished musician, for no good reason whatsoever, as none of the murders made any sense whatsoever. This was basically, in my opinion, I would call it a bind and torture killing that took 3 days.
3 days, yeah. So, and it was a group of them, and Gary was in there. Gary killed him with the sword. Did he not chop his ear? Well, Manson chopped his ear off, but did Gary not stab him with the sword and deal that final blow?
He did.
Or
he
not Gary.
Stabbed him in the heart and the chest.
Bobby, yeah.
3 times altogether. Ran him nearly through and through.
I want people to understand what happened over this 3 days. They went to his home in Topanga. Susan Adkins was there. Christopher, Zero was there, I believe. Bobby Beausoleil. And Manson came to visit and said, you guys aren't doing the job right. They held him captive. They tied him up. They thought he had money. They chopped his ear off. Then they sewed it back on with dental floss. Thanks, Susan Adkins. Then Bobby Beausoleil deals the final blows. This man took 3 days to suffer and die at the hands of his, quote, his friend and associates. Since going to prison for this, what has his conduct been like, Deb?
He had himself moved to the state of Oregon. He married a woman, did not bear any children by her. She had 2 previous children, and
nice.
And has been setting up business. He has talent as an artist. Thanks to Gary Hinman, his guitar teacher, he has talent
as a guitar player,
musician as well.
Right.
In the 2016 parole hearing, when asked why he hooked up with the Manson family, he said that there was a decline in the music industry, and I said, no.
It was the
I lived in San Francisco at the time, and there was no decline.
Yeah.
This hearing, he says, I was a studio musician. I didn't live with them. I was always out on the road doing this and that.
You live with them? What's he talking about?
I played with Led Zeppelin. Lady
come on.
Gaga's recording my music.
Oh, God. Oh, dear.
So he's Walter Mitty.
Yeah.
If Walter Mitty was a killer.
Exactly. He also does, in my opinion, fine art. And it's pornographic.
I saw it last night. It's beyond pornographic. Like, he's got children in these pictures, and anytime
children,
you naked
in having
corporal punishment. Yeah,
and he painted them, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and he procured these for other pedophiles.
This is not a person to this day that I want out on our streets. He leans towards violence on children. He is very much sociopathic. He, unlike the others, has done nothing to further his education.
Oh, okay.
He's been reprimanded 3 times in between 2016 and now in the prison that he's in, being warned that he cannot run businesses from in prison, and he admitted it in this parole hearing. He says, I'm not in the day-to-day, but I call all the shots, I collect all the money, and by the way, I donated $2,000 to the art fund in this prison.
How? Oh, what a giver.
He's not getting it.
Well, and also I wanted you to describe the fact that he complained about having to switch prisons because now, boy, he's away from his family. The irony in that he took Gary Hinman away from his family members, as you know, you've gotten very close with them. Talk a little bit about that, because to me, it's just a complete disconnect and narcissistic attitude to have that your family matters more than the man's that you murdered.
That is absolutely correct. It's so ironic, in my opinion, that they would even have the gumption to make such a statement. His wife is deceased, so the support system that we've torn him or ripped him away from would be his 2 stepchildren. One of them, by the way, lives down here in Southern California.
I wonder what that was like being, your stepdad's in prison for murder. Women got to choose better. I'm sorry, ladies. I know the pickings are slim in L.A., but my gosh, there must be alternatives. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Why I'm single, Deb, and you know it.
It's very interesting. And also in this parole hearing, I learned something new for the first time, and that is that he has 2 biological children by Manson females.
What?
Yeah.
Boy, this guy spread more seed than Archer Daniels Midland.
Wait. Who? Do we know that, like Mary Brunner?
I've been getting a lot of private messaging from these people, and none of it is nice in nature.
Oh, okay. I was thinking,
this is a family show.
Kitty Lutzinger, could it have been her?
Yes, she could be one of them.
Because that was his girlfriend, I believe, at the time. I mean,
yes, that could be one of them.
She escaped the Manson family, by the way, when she was pregnant. So that's possibly a possibility.
Well, why didn't Maury do this episode?
She flagged down a police in
Maury Povich,
I believe, near Barker Ranch. Her and another girl escaped. Am I correct, Deb?
That is correct.
Yeah. Well, this story, so now what we need to do, since Deb worked so tirelessly to turn around Leslie Van Houten's parole hearing and that decision, poor decision.
Which we have another one at the end of this month.
Another Leslie?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I need our listeners to do.
Well, let's reset for a second real fast, because we're talking to Debra Tate, victims' rights advocate. The website is noparoleformansonfamily.com.
It's so simple, everyone. You get on there. Deb has broken it down, so you see all the killers' faces. You click on one of their faces. They'll tell you what they did, what they're up for. You sign. It takes 2 seconds to just click a box. And what that does is generate your signature. And you're basically saying, no, these people should not be released. And if need be, we print them out. We take them to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk, and we do what we have to do.
Well, here's the difference, though, between last time and this time. Last time, Jerry Brown was governor, and he always waited till the 11th hour, but he usually did the right thing.
Yes, he did.
Gavin Newsom, I don't know if you saw this, Deborah, but he had his first State of the State address as governor, newly elected governor, and he has given every indication that he's going to push this state as far to the left as he can, including on subjects like criminal justice reform, which means in English letting people out of prison early. How worried are you that he's going to do the right thing?
I'm extremely worried. I personally asked him when he was running for governor, and he made it pretty clear that he has very little concern for public safety. It's all about the dollars and cents with these people. It is our money, and we have a right to keep ourselves and our children safe, and we trust that our elected politicians will do this for us. Mm-hmm. If they will not do this for us, then we need to get rid of them and get rid of them quick, because this is already costing lives.
Well said. So again, go to noparoleformansonfamily.com. It's very simply set up for you. It couldn't be quicker and easier just to do the right thing, because, and we've had liberals like Jerry Brown decide no. See, we don't know that that's the case. I just wish.
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger let people out early.
Exactly. So you got to go figure, because it was his friend's son, right?
Yeah.
But, you have to figure, and I think that I wish that we had a state that said, we have a lot of criminals and not enough space. Let's build prisons. Let's generate revenue for our state. Jobs. We can have, security, and we can have police and sheriff's department. And I don't get it. Instead, we continue just to want them out. I thought the whole point of, if you're a bad citizen, is to go to prison, not like, oh, sorry, we're overcrowded, so go on with your bad self.
Well, how about this, Deb? Do you think Newsom will even have a meeting with you? Will you get FaceTime?
I really don't know. I would very much like that. I had a meeting with the warden's office on this last trip, and they let me know that the only people left in the California prison system are the worst of the worst. All of the lower criminals have been shifted out to county jails, where they can still make money per day from the federal government. So we really don't need to be letting out the worst of the worst. We've far exceeded the quota put upon us by the Ninth Circuit Court judge. I don't know, what was it, 7 years ago, I believe.
Yeah, when they wanted us to let a bunch of people out.
Exactly. We have exceeded that quota. So now there is no excuse for this.
And that Ninth Circuit, by the way, they get overturned all the time. They're like the OJ jury of the federal appeals courts.
And by the way, we tried this very liberal action back in 1978, and bit by bit, we added our laws back. And why did we add them back? Because they were failing us, and too many people were dying at the hands of criminals.
Well said, Deb. All right. Well, you'll keep us posted. So this is number one on the agenda, and then another Leslie Van Houten. So again, get on to noparoleformansonfamily.com and click on Leslie's. Is this something that you're going to have to go up again to face, or?
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
I absolutely think so. This man is, he needs to see it in people's eyes. And by the way, I've added a feature to the website. It says click here. If you push the red click here button, it takes you to where you can write him a letter personally.
Oh my gosh.
I would like letters to be flowing in and flooding this man's office. He needs to know how we feel.
Good. That's excellent.
The website is noparoleformansonfamily.com. Debra Tate, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Debs.
Thank you, everyone.
Love you.
All right.